Album covers are pretty cool. How can I make this about Sonic? Yeah, you already know what we're doing. We're putting Sonic things in album covers. Now, I don't say this just to hype up the video. These are going to get more and more complicated as we go. So starting off with the most simple but still very iconic album cover is the Eminem Show. This one stays 80% the same because, well, I just want to change the little pocket between the curtains, where Eminem usually is, with Eggman. I don't know why, I just thought it'd be kind of funny to see like Eggman over there like aura farming in the back. So I hopped into Blender and got to posing with an Eggman rig, and I noticed very quickly how long Eggman's arms are, but also how short they are. It's like almost impossible to get this guy to put his hand, his forearm, on his knee and then push his head up with it. And especially not do that with two hands like Eminem is doing in the original cover. That just wasn't possible. So I got it to look pretty alright with one hand, and then just had the other hand kind of laying off to the side, just kind of on top of the knee. That was the best I could get away with, because man, his hands are big in this rig. I forgot how big Eggman's hands are, dude. Oh my gosh. Like, his arms are not particularly fun to use. And the environment was super easy. It was literally just two cubes that served as the like platform for him to be sitting on. Added a black wood material to the background, added in a strong spotlight to recreate the lighting from the original. I rendered it out, took it in, did some color correction, and edited it into the background, and this is what we have. I'm very happy with this. While this one is pretty simple, all things considered, I am very happy with it nonetheless. I just think it looks pretty cool because the thing is, it's one of those things where I feel like if I made it too complicated, I would have made it worse. It's just kind of cool in how simplistic it is, so I'm very happy with this one. Now next up, we got a kind of funny one, but I'm sorry, I had to do it. We got a whole lot of red, bruh. So with this one, I thought, who's gonna be peak aura farming in this? Come on, it's gotta be Shadow, bro. So this one was also pretty simple, but I do want to talk about the editing for this one because this was a little fun. So I just had Shadow hitting this pose, and I had to dial in the lighting a lot because the effect used to get this pure black and white image is called a threshold effect, and it's just called that because you're basically adjusting the threshold between pure black and pure white, like at what point on grayscale does that effect apply. That really causes you to take lighting into mind because I need Shadow's eye to be strong, right? Sonic characters have a very strong eye silhouette. You know, people talk about that with, oh, muscle curve, but that is pretty important, particularly if you're doing something like this, where you're straight up just soloing out a silhouette. You need it to be strong. You need to see the core shapes. So I had to dial in the lighting a lot, and this is the best I got with just lighting. So I had to go back in, and I added a little vector shape to sort of fill out the rest of his eye to complete the shape. Sure, that shape is not nearly as big as his actual eye is, but it looks right. So I did that and then did a little bit more editing. I actually cut out the face so that its threshold effect could be a different threshold point, just to make it look more natural. And then the rest of Shadow has just a threshold effect on it, and that's about it, with a little lighting touches on it, just to make sure that I'm getting all the things I want to see come through the threshold. So saying that, I took this Shadow, masked him into the background, cut out the red text, and then gave it a white drop shadow, and this is what we have. Not a complicated render, but this one was pretty fun to edit because I did have to think of a lot of things to make these core shapes stand out, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks really cool. After that, we have probably the most well-known album cover on this whole list, Michael Jackson's Thriller. And this is the first one that I really wanted to do a full render for because I can't just edit Sonic into this image. Sure, I get to keep a little bit of the background so that I could keep it as identical as possible, but I needed a big Sonic render to cover the majority of the frame. So I got to posing, and it was a little difficult to sort of match the pose, and it's not really possible to totally do that. It's very hard to get Sonic to get his arm in that sort of pose where he's leaning on it, but with a little bit of fiddling and stretching his arm a little longer than it should be normally, I got this pose to look as good as I could. And I noticed when looking at some versions of this cover, there's kind of this like reflective floor. That's what he's like laying on. It's very weird. I never noticed this, but it is there. So I did just add like a metallic block under Sonic essentially, and then just gave it a little bit of a noise modifier just to dial in the detail so that it doesn't just look totally smooth, which would just make it look 100% fake. So I gave it a little detail with that, added like a spotlight in the back and a spotlight in the front just to get a similar level of lighting from the original. Did a good bit of editing, added some noise, color correction to make it feel not as fresh and new. Wanted to make it feel a little old. And I think the best way you can do that is by making there not be any pure black or pure white. That's like the first change you make. If you want to make something look vintage, I would usually just cut out pure black and pure white so that it's just slightly gray. There is no pure black or pure white on your screen. It really helps make it feel like an actual photo that's not from a recent time. So doing that, I cut out the text and just worked on the background a little bit to make it smooth, and here we have it. Just like all the other ones, this was a really fun one. This is the first one that's like a major 3D render without really a whole lot of editing to it. It's basically just the render. Next up is Vulgar Display of Power. Now this one was pretty fun because this is such a goofy cover, bro. Like, look at this. The pose being hit here is killing me, bro. So I hopped into Blender, had Sonic and Shadow, and I just wanted Shadow just punching Sonic right in the face. And I think this cover for me was a really great lesson in exaggeration, right? I can make a cartoonish pose, but making a cartoonish and exaggerated pose are very different. For example, look at this. He's punching him, but it doesn't hit quite that hard. The way his mouth looks is a little weird, and it just doesn't look like he's being punched. His face doesn't look like it's distorting around the punch. It doesn't look right. Something is off about this. Now, the final pose I used, see how much more exaggerated it is? Everything is just way pushed farther. I thought I had pushed the rig really far with that first one, but not really. I just hadn't been dialing it in enough. I realized that it was less about the muzzle and more about the brow. I had to dial all of that in to make it feel right. That combined with the quills, the ears, and where his body is placed in relation to the head all contribute to how hard this punch feels. And I'm really happy with the pose, and honestly, with lighting, I really didn't have to do anything, because with this one, I basically just had to slap it in there, give it a halftone filter, and then make sure that there wasn't any pure black or pure white, just to make it look more of the grayish that the original had. And this is my version of Vulgar Display of Power. This is so goofy, bruh. Alright, so I know I said iconic covers, but okay, I had to throw one in there that I'm sure probably none of you have heard of, but if you haven't, this is an opportunity to go listen to this album because we're doing Brazilian Skies by Masayoshi Takanaka. Takanaka is straight the GOAT. I'm serious, this guy just drops 10 out of 10s all the time, casually. I don't think he has a bad album. I'm actually being so serious. I have not heard a bad album from him. It's actually ridiculous, and this one in particular is one of my favorites, and it's just such a fun vibe. He's out on the beach, the colorful text making this sort of circle shape. It's very cool. It's very simple, but it's very cool. So I thought, alright, well, let's have Sonic in a beach chair with a little boombox beside him, just on a chair. And I thought that would be cool. I thought that would be it. And so I had it looking sort of like this. Of course, this wasn't done yet. I was going to do color correction and whatnot. But this is like the render I was going to kind of go with and just edit upon that. And then I was like, wait, I could put him in Emerald Coast. So I quickly downloaded that Emerald Coast model. Thought, hey, what would make this even cooler? Let's make it a sunset. So I did that, adjusted the water, did some editing in post to make it feel like a more vintage photo, and here is Brazilian Skies. I'm really happy with this one. It's such a vibe. That's really the only way I can describe it. I think it captured the energy, the vibe of the original, while still making it distinctly Sonic, with it being in one of his most iconic locations, Emerald Coast. So yeah, I'm stupidly happy with this one. It looks great. Next up is Goodbye and Good Riddance by Juice WRLD. I thought this would be mad funny with just Sonic in the car. It would be really goofy. I was like, it would just be so cartoonish, and I thought it would work perfectly. But I can't do this in 3D. This obviously has to be a 2D illustration. So for that, I called up a good friend of mine, Shalov10. So take it away, Shalov10.
Hello, I made this one. Please don't flame me again. Okay, so GDubA asked me to make this one because he wanted this one to be a hand-drawn style. He didn't think that 3D would work, so he called me to do it. And truth be told, I don't really listen to Juice WRLD's music that much. I listen to a few of his songs, but I do know this one, Goodbye and Good Riddance, which is his first studio album. And for this one, turning it into a Sonic-esque album, the idea was pretty straightforward. It would be Sonic flipping the bird to Amy, and I would have Amy yelling at him, because I don't think Amy would be like, oh, don't leave me. She'd be like, where the f are you going? I don't know. That's how I feel like Amy would react. So with this one, you can tell that the art style is definitely more sketchy and has kind of like a watercolor look to it, because I'm trying to replicate the style of the original artist Majin Boof, who made a few of Juice WRLD's album covers. So I made Sonic's original card that he had in the classic games. I had him drive away, and I drew him flipping off Amy, and Amy, of course, I drew her screaming as Sonic drove away. And one little reference that I added was the moon. In the original, obviously it's normal, but here it's blown up to, you know, add more of that Sonic lore master essence into it. And doing the kind of like watercolor stuff on my drawing software was a bit tricky, but it was effective, surprisingly. All I did was took one of my like weird brushes, I turned down the opacity, chose whatever color I wanted, and I kind of just like did very light strokes, because thankfully my iPad, well, not my iPad, my drawing pad is touch sensitive, so I was able to do all of that. And it came out really nice, especially with the background in the sky and on the road. That came out really nice. And yeah, that's basically my process. Thank you again, GDub, for having me on this video. And yeah, bye.
And finally, for the most complicated one on this list, by far, we have Metallica's Master of Puppets. Now, this is a great album cover on its own. The grass, the gravestones, and then the hands in the background with the little strings going down. It's great. It's a great cover. It totally signifies the album. It's just such a great cover. It really does a great job. But I thought, of course, how can I make this about Sonic? What's the Master of Puppets in the Sonic universe for new gens? That's right, it's the end. So at first I was like, let me just like put the end in the background and then just like make the whole thing purple, because like why not? And this is what I got. But I was like, wait, I could go further with this, huh? So I hopped into Blender, grabbed the Supreme model, and formed his hands so that it looks like the hands in the corner of the album. Gave it this cool effect so that's kind of like transparent. I don't know. I was kind of messing around here, but it looks cool, I guess. So now we have the hands. But I was like, wait, I could change the gravestones, huh? So, once again, I grabbed the soldier model from Sonic Frontiers. Thank goodness there's the array modifier in Blender, so I just arrayed a bunch of them doing this little pose, and I added them in there. Added in some fake grass, did a little editing to make them look like they're standing in the grass, added a shadow catcher in Blender so that I actually get some real shadows from the purple light behind them, and here it is. This is just a totally new cover. Not even the sky is the same. Like, I kept nothing from the original render outside of the Metallica text and the Master of Puppets text. That is it. If I remove that, there is quite literally nothing from the original cover. But I'm happy with this one because it's so edited, but it's so distinct what it is. You know what I mean? Because with the gravestones being aligned in the way they were in the original, it's just, you know what I mean? I feel like I've changed everything in the cover, but it's still distinctly the format of the Master of Puppets cover, and that's what I'm happy about. I don't feel like if I looked at this without the text, I wouldn't be able to tell that this is Master of Puppets. I would look at it and still think, hey, that kind of looks like Master of Puppets. That would be my first thought, which is what I'm happy about. I didn't want to deviate too far from the originals in this video. I wanted it to feel like Sonic in covers, not just totally Sonic spins on covers. I just wanted it to be still a lot of the original, at least in essence and format. That's mainly what I was going for. And so yeah, thank you Shallow10 for hopping on this video. His Goodbye and Good Riddance cover looks great. It's exactly what I was thinking in my head, just Sonic flying a bird with Amy in the background. It is perfect. Thank you, dude. But yeah, I'm super happy with these, the ones that I made, the one that Shallow10 made. These are great. I thought this was just a fun project, and I hope all of you enjoyed it as well. So let me know down in the comments what you think of these, because this is just a fun project. And I guess with that, I don't got nothing else. I hope all of you have an amazing rest of your day, and God bless.